Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. We are live on YouTube, Rumble, X, Facebook. We're joined alongside Jacob in Wisconsin. We got Tim in Green Bay. Emilio was in here shirtless just a second ago. I believe he'll be joining us shortly. I don't know. I feel like he's still celebrating Cinco de Mayo, boys, and it's well over a month later. So I don't know what's going on there. I do want to give a shout out to the chat tonight, as Chris the Casual In says, I want A-Fam's mom for a date where I will treat her like a lady, and then lo and behold, A-Fam's mom is in the chat. That's kind of lovely, Chris.
A match made in heaven right here.
So, yeah, that popped off last night, man. I'm telling you, after the show, we noticed that A-Fam's mom was hanging out in here. And if you guys aren't on the stream live here, you're missing out, because let me tell you, she's a beaut. She is an absolute beaut. We said thick. I wouldn't describe her as thick.
Man,
thick.
She's something. She got, I don't know. She got put away wet, something like that, man. Oof.
All right, now easy. Jake
Like
says, "Wow, PTA dating." That's right. We're going to start a dating app, a PTA dating app. It's going to be exclusive to the Patreon group. So if you guys want to join that, just go to patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. $3 get you access to the dating app as well as all the other content on there. So
Packersonly.com. There you go.
You don't have to be lonely at Packersonly.com. So.
You will be, but you don't have to be.
Anything you boys want to talk about before we jump into the Green Bay, Minnesota breakdown here?
Anything but A-Fam's mom and speed dating on our show.
I've got something I'd like to say.
You have the floor, Jacob. Go ahead.
All right. Well, I tried to rush
the Minnesota talk here, and now go ahead. I'm just joking.
I tried to rush in some late minute homework to try to see if I could create, something positive for the podcast other than Afam's mom talk. But I was able to catch the first half of an interview with Ed Policy by Larry, and it was just released, I believe, about a couple hours ago on the Green Bay Packers YouTube channel. And I will say one thing: Ed Policy seems like a very lovely, very gentlemanly, nice man. But oh my Lord, I thought I was going to fall asleep listening to this guy spit, because he was just very yes sir, no sir, very proper. But I mean, I really liked, it seems like we are passing off the baton in very good, capable hands. It doesn't seem like any moment's too big for this dude. It seems like he has a good head on his shoulders. He really absorbed what Mark has taught him. He's been in the community for 13 plus years. His kids all went to school here, which I think is a really big deal, more than maybe most casual fans would maybe realize, because that's a huge deal, dude. You invest so much. Your kids literally spent their youth, their schooling years, and in this community. I would hope that you're going to do everything you can to make sure that you preserve and respect that community to the utmost. And I thought a fun fact before I had to cut it short to jump on here is Larry was like, hey, there's never been really a situation that's too big for you. At one point, at the same time, he was the president, the commissioner, and the CEO of the Arena Football League, because he was like, I'm the only one that can run this, so I'll do it. I thought that was pretty cool.
And I want to say, you may have just mentioned it while I was reading the chat. I apologize if I'm asking you to repeat something, Jake. Didn't his dad, and you guys in the chat probably know, I believe his father was involved with the 49ers. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Did you already say that?
I did not say that, but he comes from basically royalty in that aspect. I can't remember his first name, but the Policy name is legendary.
Yeah.
Got it. All right. So I'm excited to get the Ed Policy era started here. And again, Mark Murphy, you got to tip your cap, which is what a phenomenal job he did. I'd love to send him out with the Super Bowl this year. That would be absolutely
Oh my gosh, that would be awesome.
And I feel like we're closer. Me personally, I think we're closer this year than we were last year. The chances of Jordan being banged up all year are, far slimmer this year, in my opinion. Obviously you can't say, all right, we're without Christian, because we were without Christian significant amount of time last year. It seemed like every other game, it seemed like there was something that was kind of nagging him. He was still trying to battle through injuries and this and that. I feel like your team got better with the addition of Matthew Golden. Now, how much better, we'll find out. I think this defense 1 year in, they may take a slight step back, but if Jordan and the offense protects the football a little bit better, I think you're in a better spot. I do. I think it didn't raise immensely, but I would say 10% increase in the chance of winning the Super Bowl this year, something like that, maybe 15. I just feel like the team, when you go young, right, when you go with the younger team, one thing that comes into play is as time goes on, they're going to improve if you've got the right people, right? So it's like the worst part of that young team, that young era is over, and you're starting to step into them maturing a little bit, and then you add a few veterans. I think the sky's the limit for this team, man. I think they're going to surprise some people if they stay healthy, of course.
I agree with that. I think a 10% greater chance to bring Lombardi home this year than last year. Last year, I thought there was a 50% chance. 55% chance. So you add 10% to that. We're somewhere around
65%.
65%. That's what
65% chance of winning it all this year. I'll take them odds. Go Pack, go, baby.
United Bates says Carmen policy is pops. And then he went on to say San Francisco 49ers from 81 to 90, 1981 to 1990, vice president plus counsel to owner of the San Francisco 49ers from 91 to 97, president and CEO of the Cleveland Browns from 98 to 2004, president and minority owner. Yep. So
comes from a law background as well. So
nice.
That's awesome. That would explain what you're saying, Jacob, right? He's very direct to the point. Not going to mince any words, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Coach Flynn says Ed Policy saved the Arena League during COVID times. League almost folded. That's good info there. Appreciate that. And Daryl points out that Ed Policy's been with the Packers since 2012. This is something that I didn't realize he had been there that long, if that is an accurate number there, Daryl, but I know he had been in the waiting, right? Like he'd been working behind the scenes with Murphy. And when you think about that, and you said it is correct, is that right, Jacob, 2012?
Yep.
So when Mark Murphy took over, it was what? Am I thinking about 2008, 2009, somewhere around that time frame? So, I mean, he's been there, I mean, just 3 years shy of the same amount of time that Murphy has been. And Mark Murphy kind of let Ed Policy help him with the Titletown thing, the whole Titletown business development. So,
yep, 2007, Mark Murphy was his first year.
There you go. All right, let's dive into it, boys. Listen, we're going to hit on Packers Vikings. We're doing a PFF preview. And again, this is just to kind of see, all right, now that the rosters have been created, let's do a little deep dive into who may or may not have the advantage here. Okay. And I love this picture.
First of all, greatest picture ever uploaded to our Patreon ever. That is phenomenal.
Yeah.
That's a metaphor for this upcoming season right there.
My man is asleep too. Look at his eyes closed. He's like, man, he's snoozing. So for those on the pod that can't see this, Tucker Kraft absolutely body slamming a Vikings player with a stiff arm. It's just unbelievable.
Let's run that number. Who is that? 21. Let's find out who that is.
Yeah, we do need to know that for sure. And is he still on the roster? I need to know that as well. So, all right, how do the Packers stack up against the Vikings? Let's start off with the Packers offense versus the Vikings defense. All right. And let's start with 11 personnel versus nickel. Hopefully you guys can see this okay. I'm going to try to get it right there in the sweet spot. So let's start with the offensive line. We kind of talked about it last night. Rashid, from left to right, Rashid Walker, 68. Aaron Banks, 65. Elton Jenkins, 65. Jordan Morgan, 59, but an incomplete grade because of the injury. And then Zach Tom, 85. When we go to their front four in their nickel look, you've got, I don't know if it's Greenard or Grenard. I've heard it said both ways.
Grenard.
If I remember correctly, they picked him up. Was it from Houston? Is that who it was? It was someone, I want to say someone out west, southwest. But nonetheless, he was a free agent signing, and I think that was a solid pickup. He grades out an 81. It's showing he'll be rushing off the defense or the offense's left side, so he'll be going up against Rashid Walker. We know you got to kind of take that with a grain of salt. It can mix and match, and they like to rotate those guys around. On the opposite edge, you got Van Ginkel, who's kind of a little bit more of a hybrid linebacker. He can do a little bit of everything. He can rush the passer. He can also drop into coverage. I want to say he had an interception from the Packers last year dropping into coverage, if I remember correctly. but he grades out with a 71 last year, the 33rd overall edge defender. And then in the middle, this is where it gets a little bit shaky for them, man. You've got who is that, Hargrave in the middle with an incomplete grade of a 60.6, and then Phillips with a 58.3. It seems like the soft spot in their defensive front here, Jacob, is definitely in the middle of that defensive line. Their edge defenders, that's about as good of a tandem as you're going to find across the league, man. That's pretty solid.
Yeah, definitely. Interior is where we got to try to attack them for sure. I believe it's Jonathan Hargrave and Harrison Phillips, if I'm not mistaken. I believe, again, the Vikings have done a great job of a few things. They are really good at patching and plugging and playing guys on the defense. Seems like every year they just find these random free agents that have no business anywhere else really doing much, and they come to the Vikings for pretty decent discounts on their contract, and they just really perform really well. It seems like year in and year out, they have a consistency, whether it be on the D-line or the linebacker room, that they can just get production out of seemingly, I don't want to call them like UDFAs or really like scabs or nothing, but guys that maybe haven't gotten a lot of shot or a lot of, respect or flowers from other teams, and they just seem to perform well. Jonathan Grenard, I think, is a very, very underrated D-end, edge, whatever you want to call him, and Van Ginkel is the same type of thing. Like you said, I believe he did intercept a pass against us, caused a major turnover. And the linebacker room, I know we're not quite there yet, but I think the interior is definitely where you attack. As far as D-line goes, that's definitely where you're going to make the money.
Definitely. Tim, anything to add here to the offensive line matching up against their front four?
8 gap runs, baby. Power run, baby. Yeah. Attack the middle. Let's go.
Duo.
Yep.
Let's do it. And now when you slide to, since we're talking about the running game, let's slide to the linebacker position. They got Pace Jr. at a 63, and then Blake Cashman with a 72. You guys know Blake Cashman was someone we were very vocal and like, hey, let's try to get that guy in here out of free agency 2 years ago. The Vikings went and got him, and man, did he live up to it. He's a solid backer. So a 72 for Cashman, a 63 from Pace Jr. Obviously.
Sorry, just this podcast has been pretty good. We wanted Cashman. Remember, we wanted Bobby Wagner. Mm-hmm. There was another linebacker that I thought we kind of tipped our hat at, and he had a decent year too. I can't remember who it was, but
it was Isaiah Simmons, and we got him.
So that's right. Good. Yeah, that's what it was.
There you go.
We loved them the whole time.
It's true, and not to toot our own horn, but like there weren't. I can't think of a free agent where we were like. I mean, if you go back to who they actually signed at the top of our list, we made our shopping list. It was Xavier McKinney. We went and got him. Bang. Now, Josh Jacobs snuck up on us because we were expecting to get Aaron Jones back, and you didn't expect to have them both. But, man, did Goody crush that signing? So, yeah, I'm with you, Jacob. It seems like the players that we talk kind of highly about, they end up going out and playing good football, specifically Blake Cashman and Bobby Wagner. And you got to think, too, man, what if we had still drafted Edgerrin Cooper, but we had went out and signed Bobby Wagner, who was top 3 in the league? I mean, imagine that 4-3 front, I mean, that was so. But then again, Tim, would Cooper have gotten on the field?
Right.
Bobby Wagner was there, so it's kind of
the thing we're talking about this year with, Isaiah Simmons and, a guy like Tyron Hopper, right? Right. You want your best guys out there, but you don't want to be a progress stopper for these young guys, right?
Yeah, I keep looking at the chat and seeing AFAM's mom call people darling. I just can't take it, man. It makes me want to laugh the entire time. So anyway, Josh Jacobs, a 92.3 PFF grade, the third highest graded running back in the league, going up against that front and obviously those linebackers in the running game. Now, something else that you got to take into consideration is how this defense is going to operate. Historically speaking, B-Flow over there, Brian Flores, likes to call a lot of zero-man blitz. However, last couple years, he's kind of he can mix and match the same way that Belichick could. And obviously, he studied under Belichick for so many years and won a lot of Super Bowls with Bill. But you kind of look at the matchup of Tucker Kraft with those linebackers. I like Tucker Kraft's chances against either Blake Cashman or Pace Jr. I think that we haven't seen the best version of Tucker Kraft yet. So that's just something to take into consideration there as well. And, of course, the safeties will help a little bit with that, too. Let's just jump to the safety position real quick, and then we'll get into the cornerback wide receiver matchup. So Harrison Smith had a drop-off last year, did he not, fellas? 67? That's kind of –
he has to. The guy's 56 years old.
I was gonna say, he's going to have to be forcibly removed from the NFL. That guy is not going to retire unless you make him.
And listen, 67 isn't a bad grade, right?
No,
but
it's just not near where he used to be, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah. So – and then, of course, you've got – I can't see what the other name is there.
Martellus.
What is it?
Martellus.
Martellus? Who the hell is that? I need that. Who? Tim? 65 was his PFF grade.
I think it's Jonathan Martell. He's been around the league a few years for sure. Who? Thank you, Tim.
So, obviously, the safeties are not the strong point of this defense, but they're not horrible either. You know what I mean? Like a 67 to 65, pretty solid. So Tucker Kraft, who's he going to be matched up on? If they're firing a blitz, it may be matched up on a safety. If they're just playing spot dropper, a little matchy look on the backside, it may be Cashman or Pace Jr. So that's kind of how that matchup shakes out. Let's move on to wide receiver. So like we had talked about last night, the starting lineup it shows here is Romeo Doubs, 69, Jaden Reed, 71. Matthew Golden obviously does not have a grade, being a rookie coming in. Now, it looks like they've got a rookie in Blackman, and then they've got Murphy Jr. in the slot, the 22nd highest graded cornerback in the entire league last year to 73.4, and then the 24th highest graded cornerback in the league over with a 73.2 in Rogers. So their defense looks pretty solid. I'm gonna go and just do a quick check here and see where they rank defensively. But what do you guys think about how the wide receivers and the DBs match up here?
It almost seems like corner is probably their strong suit, other than maybe edge there on the D line. So I don't think we can sleep on those matchups. It's tough when you got a rookie DB out there. We got a rookie receiver, so no grades there. Kind of the wild card unknowns. But it'll be fun to see some of these matchups with Rome and Reed and Tucker Kraft and these guys working with some of these corners and safeties. So I don't think we can take that for granted, and that's all the more reason, right, to run the football, try and soften up that pass D a little bit,
Yeah, Jacob, with the pass defense, it looks like they gave up 6.5 yards per pass attempt last year, and that was 11th best in the league. So they're borderline top 10 passing defense, looks like.
Yep.
Yeah, honestly, if you were to make me pick which position group is their strength, I think I would say cornerback room. They was it Byron Murphy Jr. they re-signed. I know that he was going to test the market, and that was probably their best homegrown guy that they had. Blackman, I can't remember his first name, but I believe that was another draft pick that they wanted to see come to fruition. I think he had some injuries last year, but they were higher on him, I believe, than they were of any of the others. So they could have another third or second, third string guy that's pretty strong. Rogers, I want to say that was another free agent. My mind is telling me Isaiah Rogers, but that's the guy we got, right? I believe that was a free agent pickup as well. But honestly, if your cornerbacks are consistently in the mid 70s, I'd be pumped about that. You know what I mean? Like consistently. So I was a little surprised when I look at that breakdown. I think that the interior defense is just screaming that is a glaring weakness for the Minnesota Vikings, which has not always been the case. My mind frame always goes to the Williams wall with Pat and Kevin Williams, and just not being able to do anything through the A gap, the B gap, anywhere near those freaking monsters, the twin towers that were those dudes. So,
yeah, depressing time there with the Williams wall, man. They were such a tough.
Simons, okay, is who we got. Isaiah Rogers, yeah.
Minnesota's run defense was fourth best in the league, allowing only 4.1 yards per rush attempt. Green Bay Packers are right ahead of them at 4.0. So the run defense is pretty solid as well. We got Emilio joining us now. Emilio, we're just kind of breaking down the comparison here. Our 11 personnel versus the Vikings nickel defense. Vikings look pretty stout, man. Their numbers are solid too. Borderline top 10 passing defense last year. You're talking about a top 5 running defense. I'm going to go to points per play next, but what do you think about what you see here on the chart, man?
Yeah, no, I mean, they went out and spent in free agency to bring the those D tackles in, right, to try to bolster that where they were a little light there. Pretty sure Van Ginkel got some money this offseason as well, so they're trying to rebuild it, keep it going. Harrison Smith somehow still back there. I mean, I don't know, but I think we were matching up a lot better against the Vikings this year. I think with our O-line and everything. But yeah, they're always trying to patch some holes. I think Tim or Jacob was hitting on that.
Definitely. And when it comes to points per play, so you're basically scoring defense, Minnesota was just ahead of the Green Bay Packers in the number 4 spot at 0.318. So they had a legit top 5 defense last year, no doubt about it. So, all right, let's move down to 12 personnel now. All right, so this is our 12 offense, 1 running back, 2 tight ends against their base defense, which as you can see here, they run a 34 front, and you'll notice that Van Ginkel kicks outside. Grenard kicks outside, and then they go to that 3-man front with the nose tackle. Looks like Phillips is going to play nose tackle. They got Allen at one end, Hargrave at the other. Again, PFF-wise, they look like cheeks, but the numbers suggest the defense played pretty well last year. Now, Emilio, do you know which one of those or how many of those players were free agent signings?
The 2 D tackles were, I'm pretty sure. Let me pull it up.
So maybe both Hargrave and Phillips, what you're thinking?
Hargrave and Allen, I believe, were.
Yeah, who it was.
Okay.
Gotcha. I'll tell you, man, I don't know how much they paid them, but PFF didn't agree with it too much, right? As they're grading out in the 50s, borderline 50s there for Hargrave at a 60.6. But nonetheless, that's their 34 jam look there. And then they bring Pace Jr. in at inside linebacker. You can see how in the nickel, Van Ginkel kicks back to stack backer, but in the base, he plays that outside linebacker edge position.
Javon Hargrave, Jonathan Allen, they brought in. They also brought in Jerry Tillery, DT, and Jonathan Bullard, DN, and Jonathan Grenard, linebacker.
Got it. Good stuff, man. All right. So that's kind of how the Packers and the Vikings stack up with the Packers offense against their defense. Now, the big thing that changes here with 12, Musgrave coming in again, we talked about it last night, somewhat incomplete, being banged up last year. 47 is his PFF grade. And the big thing that changes there, obviously, is they're going to bring in kind of Pace Jr. and let Van Ginkel rush off the edge along with Grenard at outside linebacker. So, I kind of feel like that's a push between Pace Jr. and Musgrave in terms of trying to catch them in a mismatch. So,
might be a good opportunity to try what we discussed last night, right, Clayton? Bringing in a Savion Williams or utilizing Jaden Reed a little differently, kind of running that 12 personnel without 2 tight ends necessarily on the field.
Savion the H-back, baby.
Yep.
If you go that route, then you're minus Musgrave, and what they're going to read is 11 personnel, so that would trigger back to their nickel defense. So that would be the defense you'd be facing if you had Savion in the lineup as opposed to our boy Musgrave. And I'm with you, Tim. I think I would rather see that, personally. Now, I know there's a lot of people. The hype train is full steam ahead for Musgrave. I've seen a lot of people going, we need to play more 12. We need to play more 12. I disagree. I think our best 11 is in 3 wide receiver sets. You can see it with the explosive plays last year. It just feels like that's where they're most comfortable at. Matt wants to make sure that he's got enough weapons on the field. And Musgrave obviously not playing with great contact balance, at least at this point in his career. So we'll see.
Doesn't it almost seem logical that, we sit here every night talking about how we could have 7, 8, 9 wide receivers on this league or on this team, that why would we force being in 12? You know what I mean?
Right.
Clearly we got talent bursting out of the seams at the wide receiver position.
Mm-hmm. You look
we've
at
proven to be able to run the ball also out of 11 personnel very effectively. So,
and when you look at it too, it's like you can look at it from a personnel standpoint. Go, okay, I think this is our best 11 players, but then you look at it historically and precedent. All right, what's Matt LaFleur like to do? He loves 11 personnel. There's this big misconception that he's going to run 21 and 12 all the time. It's like that's not who he and McVay are. Shanahan, sure, but I think you're going to see Shanahan shift out of that now that Juszczyk is I think he's gone now, right? He's not even on the team.
Yeah, he's gone. He's gone.
So I bet you'll see Shanahan kick back into a little more 12 look and maybe some balanced 2x2s as opposed to putting a bunch of people in the back, because Debo's gone as well, So right. Debo was that guy they like the motion in the backfield. So United Bates says, it is one of the things I love about this chat. Different ages, different life experiences, and still all can talk ball and have a good time, man. I agree, Bates. Sometime when the show, when I'm in here talking and I'm like, man, I'm so tired of hearing my own damn voice. And I just glance into the chat and it just makes my day. You guys are unbelievable in there. You never know what you're going to get. in the chat. That's for sure. So we got a good group though, man. I'm telling you, you guys need to hop into the Patreon group. It's awesome people in there. It's really, really cool. You can get connected with everybody in there and chat it up for sure. So let's move on now to the nickel defense for the Packers, as well as the 11 personnel for the Vikings. This is where it gets really interesting. And the first thing I want to talk about here, and listen, I'm not here to slander Aaron Jones's name. You guys know he did a lot for the Green Bay Packers. But can we just take a second and respect Goody and admire the fact that Jones, grading out of the 75.4, was the 19th highest graded running back, while Josh Jacobs was in the 90s at the number 3 graded running back. So that was the right move. I think we would all agree. The other thing I want to really key in on here right off the bat is the thing that I don't understand with the national media is they're talking about J.J. McCarthy just being this absolute stud. And I'm like, what in the hell do we have to go off of? Like, he hasn't started a single game. Guys, he couldn't even practice last year. He was on the IR and wasn't even allowed to practice with them. If I'm understanding correctly, when you're on the injured reserve, you're not allowed on the practice field at all. So this dude did not practice with the team. And all of a sudden he's going to step in year one starter and just take them to another level. Especially after Sam Darnold, I think we would all agree kind of outkicked his coverage last year. Like he played better than he ever has in his career. I think the Vikings looked at that and said, there's a snowball chances in hell, of him going back next year and playing at that same level. So we're kind of paying him for what he just did, knowing that's probably not the player he is consistently. So I want to get your all's take about that. Let's go around the horn with that one time. We'll start with you, Emilio. J.J. McCarthy, Aaron Jones, Aaron Jones is starting to taper off a little bit. I think we would all agree.
Right. Yeah, that's true, man. He's getting up there in age, and like we've said, McCarthy coming into a brand new thing. Obviously, he's going to get reps in the offseason. He's going to get preseason and all that, but he needs to come out and show it. And he has no film, nothing. It's just like Jordan Love. I think he's going to go through some ups and downs. And I think that him not being able to practice a lot last year also kind of hindered him. Like at least when Jordan was sitting, he was still getting reps, still being able to do twos and stuff like that. With JJ just being out, that's going to be tough. So, you're going to be coming into it going uphill. Absolutely. I think by midseason, near the end of the season, right, he might get his feet under him, but he will also wasn't asked to throw a lot in college either, right? So it's going to be a little bit of a different game for him, and how many times he's going to turn around and hand it to Aaron Jones.
Yeah, Ron Samble in the chat says, I saw a quarterback rating that had McCarthy ahead of Jordan, had him number 12 and Jordan number 13. Jake, those are your people out there in Minnesota, buddy. What the hell's going on?
No. Those ain't my people. Don't put me in that bed.
The wrong stuff.
Got name my mouth. What I think, honestly, when I look at this on paper, is the Vikings need to believe that J.J. McCarthy is the guy, because honestly, look at this team. All they're missing is a quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, quite literally, this offensive line, barring the fact that Donovan Jackson is a rookie, we have no stats on him at left guard. Otherwise, you got Darisaw in the 80s. The Kelly they just got, Ryan Kelly, 67. That's great for a center. Will Fries is at an 86. That's almost elite. O'Neal, almost elite. Hawkinson's awesome. Addison's awesome. Justin Jefferson, maybe the best wide receiver in the league. Got Naylor, whatever. Naylor, I hardly knew her. Jones back there splitting time with Jordan Mason. And all you need is a decent quarterback, dare I say, a Sam Darnold, to walk into this offense. And this offense is immediately a top 3, top 5 offense. The problem is they don't have that. They have J.J. McCarthy, like Emilio so cleverly took my talking point. This guy was basically a turnaround handed off guy at Michigan. They didn't ask him to do much more than a third and 4, get me like a 5-yard pass play. Okay, we'll do that. I've heard whisperings, little birdies telling me secrets, if you will.
Breaking news here?
Not breaking,
you got breaking news, Jacob?
Yeah, it's breaking. Here, heard it from a fan right here. Thank you, Tim. People are not exactly seeing this guy, even in the underwear Olympics, the 7-on-7s. He's throwing up ducks and throwing up picks every single practice so far, to the point where even Bad Luck Paul, my good friend, who, even though I like him, he's a Viking fan, so obviously he lived under power lines or ate paint chips as a kid.
Here's a guy.
He's not comfortable. He definitely would not I guarantee he would not rank JJ McCarthy ahead of Jordan Love. That's for sure. So I think realistic and actual Viking fans that are sober minded and sober physically, doesn't happen often. I think they're actually being honest and they're saying, hey, we don't have our Jordan Love to our Aaron Rodgers yet. We don't have anything among this sorts. So it could be a brilliant, a glorious year to watch the Vikings fandom absolutely melt down like a popsicle in the microwave. You know what I mean?
That melts pretty quick, Tim. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, I'll tell you this. You can have the best receiver core on earth. If nobody's getting on the ball, you're in trouble. And even with a great, a great defense or a decent defense, if you can't put points on the board, you're going to be in trouble. So I think it's absolutely insane to rank any quarterback who's never played a snap in the NFL higher than a quarterback that's crazy. Got a couple years of service. So, and it's, to Jacob's point, I mean, it's true. I mean, we saw Jordan have a pretty good first year as a starter and then, had some ups and downs last year, right? Injuries, got banged up, but he had the luxury of playing behind Aaron Rodgers for a couple of years and being in a system. Like, it's no secret how we do things here in Green Bay. JJ McCarthy has not had that opportunity presented to him. So you're talking about a guy who's going to be a first-year starter. I think he's probably got the most pressure on him of any quarterback going into the league this year. I mean, I think it's up for debate.
Aaron Rodgers.
I don't think so. This is his swan song, right? Last year for good old Aaron. I don't think Aaron's feeling any pressure whatsoever. I think JJ McCarthy, a young, unproven, number one pick. Correct me if I'm wrong. Was he first overall or was he just a first round?
No, first
round pick. Okay, so first round pick, lost his rookie year. The team contended last year, made the playoffs, had a great regular season, yada, yada, yada. Well, that quarterback's gone. Here you go, kid. Here's the keys. Don't screw up. Don't crash the car. I think that's a lot of pressure for a young guy, especially a young guy who, like you guys accurately pointed out, didn't throw the football a ton, at the University of Michigan. So I don't see a year off, making him better as a quarterback, and the inexperience is going to play a role. I will say this though, Kevin O'Connell knows what the hell he's doing. So we can't take anything for granted here against Minnesota, but it's going to be an uphill battle for a guy like McCarthy, I think.
Yeah. Go Pack Go all day. Says Vikings should have signed Darnold or Aaron Rodgers. What's crazy is it got kind of swept under the rug this last week. News came out that Aaron Rodgers, they actually asked him. He said it was never on the table for him to play for the Vikings. He would never play for the Vikings.
The quote was, I would have retired before I played for Minnesota.
And then earlier in the offseason, obviously still talking crap about the Bears. Like, I don't understand why that portion – I know why that portion of the Packers fan base doesn't like Aaron, but we won't go there. It's just that dude, he could have tried to stick it to the Packers. Like, Jordan gives him so much credit for molding him into the quarterback he is and helping him every step of the way. Matt LaFleur gives him all the credit of helping his transition when he came to Green Bay, right? And then when it was time to walk away, he didn't raise a bunch of stink, Goody made his decision. Whether Aaron made the decision or Goody made the decision, they parted ways. We got a little draft compensation. He sold off. Hey, thank y'all. Appreciate everything you did for me. Appreciate what you did for us. And it was just like this mature breakup, man. I can't wait till we hang that number 12 in Lambeau. I just can't wait. So, again, I just thought that was awesome that Rodgers went that route. Like, hell no, I ain't playing for the Vikings. Lost your mind. I would have retired first. So let's move on to offensive line. This is where they look pretty good, guys. I ain't gonna lie. They got Christian Darrisaw at 81.4. Jackson must be a rookie. Any idea who Jackson is at left guard? You guys fire
Donovan Jackson. I believe he was Ohio State. He took over left tackle for when their big guy, who I am blanking on in the draft, ended up getting hurt. He actually kicked out to left tackle and did very well there. So I was surprised that they relegated. If you guys remember, I was surprised the Vikings ended up having only like 4 draft picks, and they used one of them on a guard. So I was kind of going, doing that whole thing. But they clearly saw him as a plug-and-play starting left guard that could, in the worst-case scenario, potentially kick out to be a productive tackle. So that actually makes
sense. How did they do that? 4 picks? Like, they didn't even get any comp picks, nothing. Like, that's including everything they had. They only drafted 4 players.
Hey, I'm telling you, though, they got this guy crazy. He's a draft wizard, and he's really good at all this stuff. and he's been doing it for the last like 6 years, and they're super good and stuff. And what?
Oh, for sure.
Emilio, what do you got? What do you got on Donovan Jackson, their rookie guard there?
I just was going to pull up the old board that we had. We had him third, right, on the interior alignment, just behind Gray Zabel and Booker. And you're talking about Josh Simmons, Jacob. That got injured and then went over there. But yeah, no, he really did. He played well, being asked to move over to that left tackle spot midseason, and handled it all the way through. So I think that it's a good pull, but we got a guy last year like that, and we also got one this year, kind of around the same idea. So I think we're going to be in good shape, against that front.
And we had Donovan Jackson, like Emilio said, the third best interior offensive line with a grade of 44.7. A good, just casual way to look at his value. He was worthy of the 44th pick type thing. Okay, that's how that grade kind of shakes out. So
do you guys, are you surprised at the fact that obviously this is PFF, it's whatever, that Enigbare is listed on here over? To me, it's got to be.
It's just them. They can't get their head out of their ass. They do so many things so well at PFF, and then it comes to this stuff like this, and they just mill it in. I don't know if they just let the system handle it, AI handle it, or whatever. Hey, let's just trigger this stuff. It just makes no sense. It makes none. Like there was times last year where Edgerrin Cooper was starting every game, and they wouldn't put him in the starting lineup. I'm going like they had McDuffie listed every week, and I don't mean to sound like an a-hole here, but it's just like I have zero tolerance for laziness, and it just seems really lazy to put.
That's got to be Van Ness, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's Van Ness. Yeah, it's Van Ness, and then it's probably, to be honest with you, I think Brenton Cox Jr. outsnapped Enigbare there by the end of the year. So again, it's just that's a little frustrating. Like they're going to start Enigbare over their former first round pick who finished the year with damn near a 12% pressure rate. It's just, anyway. So their offensive line from left to right: Christian Darrisaw 81, Jackson a rookie, Kelly at center 67, not horrible, right? 11th highest graded center according to PFF. Then they bring in Freeze, who had an incomplete grade, but albeit in the 80s. And someone had pointed out, I believe he was coming off pretty major injury last year. I wish I had marked it, but someone in the chat had mentioned Freeze. I think it's either Fries or Freeze. I've heard it said both.
I think it's Fries, but who knows?
Fries. But anyway, they were talking about, I think he had a broken leg or something last year in October, I believe it was. I wanted to give credit to whoever mentioned that in the chat. But nonetheless, he'll be starting at right guard. And then, of course, O'Neal at right tackle. They got one of the best tackle tandems in the league. So it's going to be hard to get pressure on that rookie quarterback. However, put it in his lap. Put that pressure in his lap. Make him beat you through the air, because like you pointed out, Jacob, all they did was turn around and hand the ball off at Michigan when he was there. So I like our chances there. Now against our defensive front, from right to left, from the defense's perspective, again, this is how they've got it listed out, which isn't even accurate anyway. Rashawn Gary 73, Kenny Clark 60, Devontae Wyatt 66, and then of course they got Enigbare there at 56. LVN graded out in the 50s as well, but again, I think those grades are a little bit skewed there. I think he had a much better season than that PFF grade would suggest. So when you look at the tight end position, they've got Hawkinson, one of the better tight ends in the league, at a 74. That was the 8th highest graded tight end in the league. When you go to stack backer for us, people that are going to be kind of matching up with Hawk, at least on those spot plays, things over the middle. Edgerrin Cooper, 85, the 5th highest graded linebacker in the league. Clap it up for him. And then, of course, Quay Walker, 57, coming in the 64 spot amongst other stack backers. So that's kind of how that shakes out. You think Aaron Jones, 75, Hawkinson, 74. You got Edgerrin Cooper at an 85 and Quay Walker at that 57. So I feel good about this matchup against the Vikings. It's going to be hard to get pressure off the edge with their tackles, I feel like, but you got to manufacture that pressure in the middle. I think it's where you get into some run stunting, some run blitzing with Edgerrin Cooper and Quay Walker, and kind of plug those middle gaps. If Aaron Jones takes another step back this year, I think they could be in trouble. And I don't know who their backup running back is. It seems like they usually got a pretty good, stable
Jordan Mason.
Yeah. Now, he was awesome in San Francisco that one year, right? What did he grade out last year? Do you have any idea what he graded out, Jacob, by chance?
I don't know the grade off the top of my head, but he is a baller. They definitely are going to split time with him and Aaron Jones. And he's obviously, fantasy's not everything, but they're projecting that they're going to be one of those split time people. He's supposedly healthy in OTAs.
72-7.
Yeah.
26th highest graded running back in the league last year. So that's a pretty good tandem there. But again, it's not like we seen with Detroit breaking them down last night, right? So I'm not too overly concerned about that. Moving
also,
on.
you mentioned Aaron Jones. It's not just the running game that could be a security blanket for an inexperienced quarterback like McCarthy. We know Jonesy catches the ball on the swing pass, screens, leaks, things like that too. So, if they lose him for any extended period of time, or he continues, to get older, I guess like we all do, right? I could see that being an issue for a young quarterback there.
Yeah, Jones coming back on a 2-year, $20 million. Mason there on a 2-year, $12 million, and they signed Fries to a 5-year, $88 million.
That's a lot of money. How old is he, Emilio? Does it show you? Fries? Because I feel like they got a lot older this year in free agency. I could be wrong there.
Quick on him, real quick. He is 27.
Okay, so so he's still got some of his best football ahead of him. All right, moving on to wide receiver against our DBs. Obviously, Justin Jefferson, absolute dog there. I think that's an 88.6, kind of hard to see, the ninth highest graded receiver in the league. And, of course, Jordan Addison, the 72.9, the 42nd highest graded receiver in the league. They got Jordan, or not Jordan, what's Naylor's first name? I'm trying to think.
Jordan Naylor. Or no.
Jordan?
Yeah. Jordan.
Jalen
Naylor. Right. Yeah.
So you got Jalen Naylor at a 59.3 in the slot. Now, he had a big game against us last year, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
I remember him cooking us a little bit.
I might have to dig up some tape because I remember that name popping up more than once in that matchup.
Now, with our DBs, again, we talked about this last night. I personally think it's going to be Keyshawn Nixon on the outside with the 64. I think it'll be Nate Hobbs in the slot. He's grading out a 61 as a corner, but he's played some of his best football throughout his young career in the slot. I think he'll be in the slot, and I think it'll be Carrington Valentine on the outside with Javon Bullard kind of in the bullpen, no pun intended, and rotating in and out safety if for some reason the safety room gets a little banged up there. So they've got the advantage, receiver against DB. I feel comfortable saying that. I'm not going to BS anybody. They got one of the best wide receiver tandems in the league. But again, it all comes back to that quarterback, man. Can the rookie quarterback get the best out of those guys? Because I'm telling you,
the coach get the best out of the rookie quarterback too.
Right. And, when you ask that question, Amelia, I think he probably will get more out of J.J. McCarthy than I'm trying to think of Coach Harbaugh did at Michigan.
Yeah.
Just because KOC is a hell of a coach, man. He's a quarterback coach too. But if McCarthy struggles, you're going to see those receivers struggle, And I'm telling you, man, Justin Jefferson, a little bit longer in the tooth now, right? He's getting a little bit older. And I'm not saying he's over the hill by no stretch of the imagination, but you get to a certain point in your career and they bring in a rookie quarterback. If that rookie quarterback starts to struggle, don't be surprised if Justin Jefferson starts getting frustrated. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that everything that the Vikings are trying to do is hinging on J.J. McCarthy and how he plays. And I don't mean to keep bringing it back to that, but that's the cold hard facts, man.
That's what it comes down to, right? Because he's got all the reason in the world to succeed as a quarterback, right? You've got a decent running game, you've got a hell of an O-line, and you've got receivers. So if you crap the bed, that's 100% on you. It's going to be on you not reading the defense or understanding the system,
Yeah,
Tim, I'd go so far as to say that Clayton always talks about, and I believe he quotes, "Take your eye off the ball." Thinking how if you want to really make that last splash like free agent signing, the last thing you add is that star receiver when you have nothing else that you could build. Look at this roster right here.
Everything but a quarterback.
Everything but a quarterback, bro. You could argue like, hey, we got to go out and get that slot receiver. You know what I mean? Well, it doesn't matter if you got freaking, Emilio throwing him the ball. You know what I mean?
That's so true.
If you hit on that quarterback, though, and I'm just going to say this because I'm not a McCarthy believer, but is there a chance that he's a real deal? Absolutely. Nobody's saying, oh, he's hot trash, right? If they hit on him and you got him on a rookie deal for the next 4 years with a fifth-year option, they are really set up to do amazing things. If they whiff, though, you wasted a first-round pick and you're back to the drawing board. And what's going to end up happening is some of these older players contracts are going to come due. Now you're going to be missing a tackle here, missing a player there, and things are going to get really, really interesting. So one thing I will say, I'm excited to see on a 3rd and 8 if J.J. McCarthy can read out a cover 6, the difference between a cover 6 and a cover 9. or us doing a little double A gap mug and having the athleticism at the mock backer position to drop into a Tampa 2. And I just love the idea of Xavier McKinney floating around that secondary while they got a rookie quarterback back there trying to avoid pressure in the middle with Devontae White. And now what should be a healthy Kenny Clark getting a lot more pressure on the quarterback.
See, the thing is that going into the draft and all throughout the draft process, they always said, well, the hidden talent of JJ McCarthy is you just don't get to see what he can do. The guy's got a cannon. He's got all the attributes. He's got even some of the athletic traits that you just won't see, but you just didn't get to use them. So we're supposed to believe that through 3-4 years of college, whatever, that whole experience, and now going into the NFL with a year where he's hurt, he's able to dust it off and just start using it in the NFL at the NFL level. To me, that doesn't make sense logically. So it is crazy that I was very surprised. Were you guys surprised that Mr. Brilliant Kwesi Afono or whatever his name is had no option? You ended the season with like 4 possible starting quarterbacks. You had Danny Dimes, you had Sam Darnold, you had JJ. You also had like another guy that was a seasoned vet that could possibly, I think Jared Stidham or something like that. And now you've got JJ. Yeah. Are you surprised with that? Do you see any snowball's chance in hell that a guy like Kirk Cousins gets a call, or that something like that?
Man, if the wheels really fell off, maybe, you never know.
That would be crazy.
I don't think either side burned that bridge, to be honest with you, Jacob. But yeah, it's very interesting. I'm glad you brought that up, because I think that could potentially be on the table. You know, you'd like to make that decision before you break training camp. Maybe they get a couple weeks into training camp and go, oh, crap, we made a mistake, right? Or they could go into a couple weeks into training camp and be like, all right, boys, we got the franchise here. You know, everything's on the table at this point. So let's move on to their 12 personnel versus our 12 or our base defense here. Okay, so obviously the only thing that changes is they bring in their backup tight end, which is Oliver, a 74.3. He was the 9th highest graded tight end. So KOC has really got those tight ends playing pretty well there, according to PFF. And then, of course, we bring in our extra stack backer. Now, they got McDuffie listed at a 55.3. Most people, I think we did the poll question the other night, and most people said they want it to be Isaiah Simmons, right? If I remember correctly. Me personally, I hope Tyron Hopper wins the job, or Colin Oliver just blows everybody's socks off playing stack backer at training camp. Now, he could come in and just be predominantly an edge defender. I'm not trying to suggest that the Packers are going to, play him at stack backer. I'm just saying the college tape suggests he's got the instincts to play a really good stack backer position if it translates over to the NFL. So that's what changes in terms of 12 personnel there with the Packers defense and their base 4-3, and obviously the Vikings with their 12. So parting thoughts on the Packers-Vikings matchup there, guys. Is there any team statistics you guys want to see? I'm going to pull up real quick, not on the screen, but just for a quick reference, the turnovers. But let's go around the horn one time here. Anything we maybe didn't cover or something that you want to add on here?
I'll just say quick that I don't think that it's fair to be able to pull up any offensive stat and compare it, because just simply the fact that Sam Darnold's gone, J.J. McCarthy's here, and he's an untested, unproven NFL quarterback. So, the NFL is all about projections and stats and this and that and over-unders. But I don't think you can project the guy coming in and winning a certain amount of games, which it just seems like you listen to the NFL overall and specifically the Vikings fan base, and they're like, oh, JJ can at least win us 8 games. Like, how do you know that? You don't know that. There is nothing on tape or on paper anywhere that shows that you have any way to believe that, other than the fact that that's what you want to believe, you choose to believe. So I'm just going to be super excited to see, one, if they even let this guy dip his toe in the water in preseason and what that initially looks like. And everybody always, scoffs at the preseason. This is this dude's first NFL really in the last year plus, let alone him having to carry whatever momentum or lack thereof into that opening season. It could be rough, boys. It could be really rough for the Minnesota Vikings, simply just because of one guy in a game that's so crazy, because on any given play, you think that one person doesn't have that much sway, that it takes all 11, all 22, depending on, how you want to word it. That one dude could ruin that organization. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
And when you come to takeaways here, boys, Tim, Emilio, Minnesota actually led the league last year in interceptions per game on defense, 1.3 per game.
I don't see that continuing.
Just like we said with Green Bay, coming in third there at a 0.9 per game, it's going to be hard to duplicate that kind of success, in taking the ball away specifically through the air. You can't expect Minnesota to hit that number again, too, especially with obviously their DBs one year older and obviously coming off a good year. Just like we talked about, the Packers defense may take a slight step back because there's so much tape on them. You're going to have the same kind of thing apply with Minnesota. I don't expect Minnesota's defense to play as good as they did last year. It's going to be hard to kind of duplicate what they did, if that makes sense. But what's your all's take on that, Tim and Emilio?
I got a stat. We were 0-2 against the Vikings last year.
Yay!
We lost both games. We lost both games by 2 points. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
So if we are in a situation like Clayton's describing here, where maybe this defense isn't as good as it was last year, giving us a chance to put more points on the board, and then if you couple that with what we just discussed offensively from the Vikings perspective, and maybe our defense possibly taking another step forward, or at least definitely not backwards, I think we have a chance to maybe turn that 0-2 into a 2-0 this year against our division rivals. And I do think it'll be some close football games. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to sit here and say that, the Vikings are going to win 1 or 2 games or something this year. I think that would be kind of foolish to think that. But either way, I think we can turn it around. This is a good opportunity in 2025 for the Packers to kind of get over that hump, man, and at least split the series with them at the very least. I'm tired of going 0-2 against division rivals. I don't know about you guys.
We've got to split the series.
Emilio, we did throw 3 interceptions in that September matchup against the Vikings.
Yeah, no, it's a tough one. But their DB room's going to be looking a little different, right? They brought in Jeff Okudah and Isaiah Rodgers, so they are bringing in some outside talent. And like you were saying, Clay, I don't know if they're going to be able to recreate that completely, but the offense, I think, could be their defense's hindrance. You know what I mean? If they're off the field in 3 plays, or if they're 3 and outs half the time, that's going to take a lot out of this defense. And it's not like they're a young defense that are spry, running around and all that. They do have some age back there, so I think you kind of play the long game with them, and it might work out for you. I think Matt's going to be all right scheming over there, but our defense really needs to step up. The offense is either going to be potent like a firepower, or they are going to struggle, and we need to take advantage.
Yep. Completely agree, man. It's going to come down to turnover differential. It's going to come down to controlling the mental errors. And I like our chances, man. I think Jordan Love is going to play much better this year. And even with that being said, I feel like he was the 12th, maybe 13th best quarterback in the league last year. If he improves to 7th or 8th this year, being fully healthy, protect the football, and let someone like J.J. McCarthy, a young quarterback, make the mistakes instead of him, I think you come out on top in both these games. I wouldn't be surprised if the Packers sweep them. I would probably put it at a push. We win 1, they win 1.
Yeah, I'd be happy.
Yeah, I think there's a decent chance, a better chance that we sweep the Bears this year, but it'll probably be a push as well. And the Lions are the tough one, right? I could see the Lions beating us both games. Hope it don't happen, but I could also see the Packers pulling one of those out. If you're going to take the North, man, you got to come out and smack these teams in the mouth. And we're going to find out a lot about the Packers week 1. We really are. I'm excited about that Packers-Lions game because it's just going to be the perfect measuring stick right out of the gate. All right, are we going to take the damn North back or not?
Right.
And if we come out and we get smacked in the mouth and we can't reach their level of play, and listen, we played them close just like the Vikings last year.
Yep.
So it's not like they boat raced us in both games. That one game got out of hand because obviously the pick 6 right before halftime in the middle 8, that hurts. But yeah, I think you've got as much a chance this year to improve your NFC North record as you had in a long time. I think the Lions are due to take a slight step back. I think the Vikings got uncertainty at quarterback. I think the Bears are always going to bear. And here's the other thing. Everybody, Bears fans, it cracks me up this hill that they're dying on.
Hey, hold on.
There it
is. Mike Booker's fury. All right. He says, Packers are not sweeping the Bears this year. Bears had the Cheesehead beat both games last year. Okay. Let's go.
Mike Dick is furry. I think that's what it is.
Let me take a second to handle this one. So the Packers beat the Bears in the first game, right? And then in the second game, we were without Jair Alexander. Christian Watson shreds his knee. We pulled Jordan Love out of the game, right? And it was funny. One of the arguments, like, I love this Caleb 1-0 at Lambeau. This cracks me up because that's the hill they're dying on this year.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, oh, yeah, look, Caleb's 1-0 at Lambeau. Against the backups, bro. Our playoffs were already locked in. And Matt said, you know what? Christian just shredded his knee. Let's get some of these starters out of here.
Isn't Jordan undefeated in Soldier as well?
That's come on, Jake. Is that really, Emilio?
No,
is that like
right.
a big deal?
Why would I say anything like that?
Now, I just want to ask the resident Bears fan in here real quick. Who has the overall head-to-head record, Packers or Bears? The Packers do. Who has more wins in the history of their existence? The Packers do. Who has more divisional titles? The Packers do. Who has more conference championships? The Packers do. Who has more Super Bowl rings? The Packers do. Who has more NFL championships? The Packers do. I got to give you credit, though. You did beat us at Lambeau last year with our backups in. So clap it up. Let's clap it up.
Yeah, you do have deep dish, but where do you get the cheese for your deep dish?
Nice. Yes. They lead the league in one thing, though. Murder per capita. Thank you, Chicago.
We're going to give him some.
And mine was bad, Jacob?
Just saying. It's
All
true.
right. You're an amazing person. You know that, don't you?
So appreciate the Bears fans swinging it. What I love the most about this that they don't get, how bad is your fan base? How bad is your organization? How bad is your content creators? That on a random June 17th,
you got to find
hanging out on a Packers show.
Get ready to go.
You're hanging out on a Packers show, bro.
Yeah.
I pause for dramatic effect.
Get ready to go.
Join the Patreon group right here in the corner.
We need some comedy in there. Join the Patreon group. Matter of fact, if you just sign up as a free user in there and mention that you're the Bears fan that was in the chat tonight, I'll give you 1 month free, bub. And I'll just sit back and watch the banter. All right.
Get ready to go.
You guys got anything else y'all want to hit on before we wrap up here?
Give a shout out to Mac.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's
give a shout out to Mac.
Yeah, so we've got an awesome giveaway coming up, an opportunity to give to a great organization, the My Autism Connection. And if you go to my Twitter account at Packers_access, there's a link in there, givebutter.com/KRPSJ5. For every $5 that you donate, you'll be entered into the contest one time. So if you donate $50, you're going to be entered in 10 times. That's quick math. You see how I did that? So, and what we'll do is put your name on the wheel. We'll spin that sucker, and we're giving away an autographed Dorsey Levens jersey. Again, just donate to that. And listen, if you don't want the jersey, you just want to donate to a good cause, I'm telling you, it's an awesome, awesome cause. That's My Autism Connection, building hope, community, and independence for autistic adults. So I'm really, really excited to partner with them this year and help drive some funds over there to what they're accomplishing, making things happen. Way more important stuff happening over there at Mac than here in this chat tonight, I promise you. My God. So anything else, boys? We good?
No, J. Cole they win one game in 5 years and all of a sudden start talking the smack.
Hey, and you guys know my response. You know what? We might get hit with a copyright, but I don't. Let's worth it. It really is. I'm going to show you this is always my go-to. You got to say something smart as I pull this up. I got to find.
Well, since we're talking Bears, you want to say something smart? I'll just.
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game. Another game.
I just hope we can beat the Packers one more time, maybe.
All right, so I got it keyed up here. This is always my go-to whenever Bears fans jump in the mentions and everything. Like, yeah, Caleb's 1-0 at Lambeau. I like to hit them with this right here if we can get it to pull up. Just real quick here. And again, it might be a copyright. I don't care. But this is what we always hit them with, right? Notice the record.
Oh! Look at this right here. Huh?
Look at this right here.
He says, if we're going to be here, we're going to be here, baby. So as you can see all those dubs. Actually, let's put it up there one more time. And, yeah, right there. There you go.
Right there.
That was- how ugly is that? Let's count 1, 2,
2018.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They got one. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
I got one.
15 out of 16 games we beat them.
They were little
Hey, why don't
boys
you ask
that
me
were
the last time
born.
they had a quarterback that threw for over 4,000 yards?
Yeah. Sid Luckman.
Oh, wait.
Shout out Sid Luckman. You know?
No. Sid Luckman didn't even throw for 4,000.
You know?
Oh yeah, no.
And that's
never
the
had-
best quarterback they ever had. So
Legitimately, they were young little boys that were born and grown to be young men that never once saw a Bears victory. Oh, poor bastards.
Just felt like
Derek
Jacob-
Kramer was the closest, 3,800 yards in 1995. That's
Well, he was a stud, wasn't he?
Yep.
Absolute stud there. I just know this. Come this fall, it's going to be Matt LaFleur belt the ass out there in
I was
Chicago.
just gonna say Bears fans to
I'll
Caleb.
pat you on the butt and you poop my hand. So
You know what I love the most about this? It looks like there's a tear dropping down his cheek. Like, this is going to hurt me more than it hurts you.
Yeah.
All right, let's get out of here, boys. Appreciate y'all's time tonight. We'll be back tomorrow. We are going to talk Packers Bears, actually. So that was a good little
Oh,
intro.
great
to that.
segue right
Actually,
there.
Yeah.
I threw it in my
Actually,
mouth a little bit.
let me correct this. There may not be a show tomorrow night. There'll definitely be one. The next show we do will be the Packers Bears preview. Tomorrow is 3 years since the passing of my father-in-law. So we like to go over to the military cemetery and pay our respects and go grab dinner. So if I can get home in time, we'll do a show. But if not, please forgive me. We'll be out there, kind of a little tradition there. So anyway, we'll be back for the Packers Bears breakdown. Emilio, it was good to see you, but I'm glad you're still
Glad to be back.
glad you're still evading. You know what I mean? Making it
Grinding.
happen.
Tom didn't get him yet.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Straw hat still works as cover.
Jeez.
This show sucks so bad. All right, we'll see y'all tomorrow. I'm not even going to hit the normal goodbye. Just find something else to watch. This show sucks.
Bye, guys.